Thank you for joining us. Our top story at this hour. A top U.S. general has admitted that the country made a mistake when it launched a drone strike against suspected IS terrorists in Kabul. The strike had killed 10 civilians, including children. It was carried out during the final days of the U.S. troop pullout from Afghanistan last month. U.S. Central Commander General Mckenzie has said that the strike was meant to hit a suspected IS operation that had its sight set on attacking the Kabul airport. The U.S. intelligence had quote-unquote reasonable certainty. However, the strike turned out to be what U.S. calls a tragic mistake.
I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike. Moreover, we now assess that it is unlikely that the vehicle and those who died were associated with ISIS-K or were a direct threat to U.S. forces. I offer my profound condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed. This strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees at the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology. As the combatant commander, I am fully responsible for this strike and this tragic outcome.
According to General Mckenzie, U.S. forces had tracked a white car for 8 hours. It was seen near a suspected IS hideout in Kabul. U.S. forces had received intelligence that the site in question was apparently being used to prepare for attacks on Kabul airport. It was believed that the car had been loaded with explosives. The people who died in the U.S. strike included 7 children. None of the victims were linked to the Islamic State. In fact, one of those killed in the strike was an Afghan man who worked for a U.S. aid group. Mckenzie defended the U.S. operation as a self-defense strike. He said that there were concerns about an attack on the airport in the last days of the chaotic evacuation. Pentagon and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin have also apologized to the relatives of those who were killed.
As the Secretary says in this statement, we apologize and we will endeavor to learn from this horrible mistake. And to that end, he has directed a thorough review of the investigation just completed by U.S. Central Command.
Remember, on August 26th, an ISIS-K suicide bomber had killed scores of Afghans and 13 U.S. service members at Kabul airport. The attack came at a time when many Afghans and foreign nationals were making desperate attempts to flee Afghanistan as they feared the Taliban rule. Now, for more on this, Afghan envoy to Sri Lanka, M. Ashraf Haidari, is joining us live. Thank you very much for joining us, Ashraf. For the U.S. to come out and admit their grievous mistake after the mistaken drone strike, what kind of image is America portraying to the world in the midst of the crisis in Afghanistan?
Well, we welcome this statement of apology from the commander of the Central Command, General Kenneth Mckenzie, Secretary of Defense, and as well as others on what now appears to have been a grave mistake. I think the drone attack was based on inaccurate intelligence, and it shows the limitation of the over-the-horizon operation due to a lack of accurate human intelligence on the ground, simply because of the withdrawal of the enablers that used to exist, and as well as the information that used to be provided for such operations by the Afghan National Security Forces and the police. Unfortunately, in this tragic incident, as we just heard, 10 civilians, including 7 children, were killed. Actually, the gentleman, Mr. Zamarai Ahmadi, used to work with an international NGO based on the United States. And just before his killing and the rest of his family, he had actually applied for a way to be evacuated alongside the rest of others whose scenes we watched unfold at the Kabul International Airport, and as well as, unfortunately, the 26th of August terrorist attack by terrorists that killed over 180 people, including U.S. forces. So it's good to see now a thorough review of the investigation that was completed to see what really went wrong and where the intelligence and as well as operators of the drone made a mistake, so that those responsible, as the general just took full responsibility under his command, would be held to account.
Mr. Ashraf, just to correct you there, the U.S. still says that the investigations are still ongoing. But does this revelation do more damage to a country that is sinking deeper into crisis and even its people fearing for more attacks, despite Taliban taking over power?
What I can really say is that it is damaging. Of course, it happened at a time when the withdrawal was completed. I think every effort should have been made to avoid such a tragedy, which would reflect very negatively on the image of international forces in Afghanistan, which of course has now been exploited fully by terrorists and extremists, and who was of course behind the attacks of the 26th, which then of course worried everyone in terms of another attack happening, and that's why measures were taken to prevent another such larger scale attack, in order to prevent the loss of more innocent civilians at the airport. So what is now important at this stage is an investigation that would fully uncover what happened, and two, immediate reparation to the devastated and grieving family, and as well as meeting their evacuation needs in case they wish to go to the United States, and if they want to go there, that their future would be secured there, and compensation and reparation to this horrific tragedy. And well, of course, drawing lessons for future over the horizon operations in Afghanistan, knowing the full limitations, which I discussed, of such operations that would definitely culminate to civilian casualties, now that the accurate human intelligence no longer exists, that of course the Afghan security forces are no longer there, and nor is of course the NATO itself on the ground with the capabilities that used to have at its disposal to ensure that such attacks wouldn't be mistaken.
Finally, this will be a sticking point for both Afghanistan and the US in the long run. Will an apology do enough to sort of clear the air?
Well, apologies are natural and normal, of course, always welcomed by the immediate, family and loved ones of the victims, by the Afghan people who have been suffering in the hands of everyone, but primarily everything, caused by terrorists and extremists, and as well as their state sponsor and the region. That's where the original sin lies with. But of course, an apology is not enough. What I think should happen, like I pointed out, this needs to be taken as a lesson in order to ensure that no collateral damage, of course, to civilians would happen in the future, that unless there is accurate human intelligence on the ground that really connects the dots, and unless, of course, everyone is really connected and communicate and make sure that they have picked the right target, that such attacks should be called off and by no means should be carried out.
M. Ashraf, thank you very much for your insights on WION. Well, our correspondent Anas Malik Alias sent us this report. Let's listen in.
First of all, I thank you so much for WION TV and for Anas Malik to have a good report for us. And after that, I want for USA justice. The 2 persons doing this action are stuck that they should court. They should punish it by USA court. By USA court.
Has the USA reached out to you and said that we are sorry? Have they done that?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, that I hear for TV.
Yeah. They have not called you?
No one's call has, just I hear for TV, that for media, that they accept their admit, and just like this.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you think justice will be done with the family, except for the court punishment? Will you go to the court? Will you fight for them? How?
Yeah, but you know better that I can't fight with them. They are a powerful country. Just only I wanna for you say that they should punish them. But you say, yeah.
What else are your plans for justice with regards to evacuations as well? Do you plan on leaving? What are your plans of how to seek justice?
Yeah, that my plan is like this, that you know better that all of our yard, our home is damaged, that we can't live in here, that I want to that they should transfer us in a foreign country, and also the USA should pay compensation for us.
Monetary compensation?
Yeah, money compensation. Yeah.